There are very few things in my life that has outshined the passion that I have for video games. My kids, my wife, fighting and violence. But in particular, in correlation with this video, is when I was in car sales for over 5 years. And damn, I loved it. And I was damn good.
I was very, very good.
And every so often, as I stood on the showroom floor waiting for a customer to come in for me to talk to, for me to try to sell a car, someone will walk through those doors and they will say to me, today I'm buying a car. I don't know from where and I don't know from who, but I can't go home today without a car. And there was music to my ears because that let me know you were ready. All I needed to do was let you test drive it a little bit, give you some facts about the car, get you hyped up and excited about the car. And the next thing you know, you was driving off in your brand new car. All I needed to do was give you a little nudge, just a little push off the edge. And that is what I'm here to do today. Because obviously, if you're clicking on this video and your question is, should I buy Stellar Blade, and you own a PlayStation 5 and you played the demo, I mean, yes, video over, drop a like. Thank you for stopping by.
Cause my name is Karikinchin.
But if you're one of the ones that's still slightly on the fence, or you just want a little more background information about exactly what is Stellar Blade, how it was developed, who created this game, where did it come from, or maybe you're one of the woke warriors and all you see is titties and ass and you want to know, is there a heart and soul, is there some substance, some context behind the yams? But before we can even get into that aspect of it, we have to know where we started, where we began, how was this game even birthed, and most importantly, whose vagina it came out of. So the name of the studio that's developed Stellar Blade is Shift Up Studios, a fairly newer studio compared to some of the other OG gaming studios that's been around since the 90s. So Shift Up Corporation is a South Korean game dev and publisher that's based in Seoul, South Korea. The original studio was founded December 2013, and it was founded by two people. One by the name of Hyung Rip Min, obviously apologize if I say the names incorrectly, and artist Kim Hung Tae. Now I'm just gonna call him K-Rip. Now K-Rip, I did some extensive research and he's pretty much off the scene. I was only able to find this one visual where he's looking like Bruce Lee. So he seems more of a silent partner. That's all I have on him. Now, the GOAT, the one that's been doing it, the one that's been in the game for a long time, the one who's the mastermind behind all of the art and the visuals and the vision. His name is Kim Hung Tae. There's a joke in there somewhere. After I did some research and I started looking back at all the games he's been an artist on, all the games, the mobile games he developed. And one thing I know for a fact about Kim Hung, this man loves the titties. So before he even got into game dev, he was the lead artist on some pretty high profile games going back to the PlayStation 2 era. Games like Magna. And each one of these games are going to show you exactly how he got to Stellar Blade, because it's all important that this man has stood on business for a long time. Even going back to an interview that I found in 2010 where he was basically getting drilled about why he makes his female characters in particular so voluptuous. And you'll be surprised exactly his thought process behind this. But that'll be for later. But this was the first one he worked on in 2004. Crimson Stigma is a role-playing video game developed by Softmax and was originally released on the PlayStation 2 in South Korea by Sony Computer Entertainment. So him and PlayStation actually go way back, whether they even know it or not, which I'm sure they do. This is his first art, at least his first video game art that the world's seen. Looks familiar? I mean, even the disc set got the yams on there. So after Magna Carta, he went on to work on another game by the name of Blade and Souls. No, it's not by From Software. Blade and Soul was a Korean wuxia-themed massively multiplayer online game developed by NCSoft. Close though, see? Blade and Soul was released in Western territories on January 19, 2016. And it also had a Japanese animated television show that was aired in 2014 from April 3rd to June 26th on TBS. But going back to Shift Up in particular, the first game that this studio got to work on was a mobile game by the name of Destiny's Child. Now I know you're thinking about Beyonce, Kelly Rowland, and the other girl, nobody knows her name, but this is Destiny's Child, the mobile game. And of course, Destiny's Child was another mobile game from Android and iOS platforms as a gacha game, and it features a character and card based gacha. Players can roll for their characters and cards featuring the various rarities. But there's one thing about this gameplay that you know for sure, that Kim Hung had them yams in there, bro. He stayed consistent. But with that game, there came some controversy because Destiny's Child actually actually saw a censored international release in 2018, and in 2020, Shift Up went on to release the uncensored version as well. And some of this shit is buck wild, bro. You can kind of use your imagination of what the uncensored version of this game would be. But then shortly after 2018, in April 2019, Shift Up announced they're going to be working on 2 brand new projects. Of course, they got to stay with their bread and butter. They had a new mobile game codenamed Project Nikke, the Goddess of Victory, and the studio's biggest endeavor to this day, their first AAA title by the name of Project Eve. Now, initially, they had it set to release on multi-platforms. It was supposed to be on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC. So once the ball really got rolling on Project Eve, Kim found a lot of his OGs that work with him on Blade and Soul, and that really formed up his Avenger team to form what they call Second Eve Studio, which is their section inside the Shift Up. Now, in September 2021, Shift Up made a big announcement that Project Eve will be coming to the PlayStation 5 with Sony Interactive Entertainment with full marketing rights and full exclusivity. So then during the PlayStation Showcase in 2021, they reintroduced the game with the name Stellar Blade, PS5 exclusive, Sony only, with no mention of the prior name, obviously, or that initially it was for multi-platforms. Sony came with that dump truck and said, hey, let us get that. But to flash forward just a bit, the director Kim did state that we had the feeling we wanted to release a highly complete game on a single platform. When deciding which platform, we came to the conclusion that the PS5 will provide the most optimal gaming experience. I gave a very serious answer so far, but personally, as a fan of Sony games, making a game on PlayStation has a special meaning to me. That has been my dream since I was a child. So this goes back to when he was a kid playing the PlayStation, bro. How can you fault a person for that? If you get the opportunity of a lifetime to finally work with PlayStation, hell, I'm just not getting PlayStation games sent to me, and I'm like a kid in the candy store. So I can only imagine what's the feeling of actually getting to deal with them to create a game for their platform. So then on December 16, 2022, it was reported that Tencent acquired 20% stake in Shift Up. That's when you know they popping, becoming the company's second largest shareholder after Kim. Now, if you hear the word Tencent and you don't know who they is, just know it's a high chance, I mean like a 95% chance, your favorite game, Tencent owns a percentage of them. They have a long list. They own Riot Games 100%, Epic Games 40%, Battlegrounds, Ubisoft 5%, Activision 5%. They own Discord, FunCard, Shark Mob. Point is, they don't bet on losers for the most part. If they invest inside of Shift Up, they see some amazing potential inside that studio, and this is why the studio is so popular as is. Now, of course, me and you, we don't have a problem with how they make the females or the males look. Even his male characters, he makes them overly masculine with the jawline and the big traps. He over exaggerates the most attractive parts of the human anatomy because it catches the eye and it creates this idealized fantasy for some people, and that's what works. Now, this is way before all, you know, the woke warriors and all the Sweet Baby Inc. shit that they have going on now. Even back in 2010, somebody pulled up on him in an interview that I want to reference. The interview was by Game Development. This was from March 28, 2010. I'll leave all this link down in the description below, everything that I'm reading. Go check it out for yourself. But one thing in particular that I mentioned earlier that stood out to me, because I thought he was just a guy that loved to draw big breasts and asses, but it's a lot more deeper in context. The interviewer asked, one thing that is very distinctive about your style is how you draw women. How do you approach this? Kim says, I'll preface this by saying that when you draw something, the hardest thing to do is depict with the character for me. For example, there are people who like strong characters, weak characters, innocent characters, feeble characters, all on a region by region basis. But that sort of thing changes very often. It becomes very complicated. So I try to simplify everything by erasing all the cultural elements and try to make it more internal and instinctive. It's a natural identification of what we really like since birth. Before cultural context, I try to exaggerate all those aspects and then tie it to some of the more complex, deeper emotions, and then just draw something that people will really like innately. So then the interview will come back in hot and heavy. So is that back to basics approach to why the women you tend to draw have an emphasis on chest and hips, kind of a earth mother element? Put it simply, you have to first look at how the bodies are actually connected. Of course, the chest, the hips, sort of stand out a lot because they're, you know, the biggest parts, I guess, but the most important part of the character is actually fat. Any character we create is composed of bones, muscles, and of course fat. Despite the beauty in the bones of the muscles, those aspects tend to not be particularly feminine and lend themselves to something more male. But if you focus more on the fat of a character and then you sort of create a flow into the chest and the hips and form the body around it, how force and physics can change a body, including fat, becomes more beautiful for people who can appreciate the innate nature. So he's saying that all his characters basically start off fat and he just started like trimming and drawing from there. But I was honestly surprised with his explanation of why he he draws his characters like that. Because from the surface, again, it just looks like he's just trying to draw characters, you know, with big body parts to make it sell. But apparently, unless he's bullshitting, there's a much deeper layer in his thought process when he's creating his art. And that was back in 2010. Now we sit here today in 2024, where you can't cough or sneeze the wrong way without getting freaking canceled for something. But then you have the other spectrum of it. If you decide to cover up a woman or a man or whatever, then you're a Sweet Baby Inc. censorship shit. And I truly didn't know what the hell that even was until just like a week or two ago when I finally looked it up, because I've kept seeing it in my comments or people telling me, hey, you need to talk about this, or you need to make a video on this about your Sweet Baby Inc., how they're ruining our video games. Why don't MJ have big titties? Or why don't this character have a big ass? Why does this girl from Fable and Xbox looks like shit? Like, these are comments that I get every day to this day, or whenever they put a black character or whatever. Like, bro, I just play games, man. I don't know about none of this shit. I don't know about any of it. But apparently Sweet Baby Inc. is a company that they use to make sure they add in diversity and make sure that the female characters in particular aren't over sexualized, and they have a list of games that utilize this service. It was a whole thing. Like, I completely just checked out of it. Y'all can chat about that on your own time. But the reason I'm bringing it up at all on my channel, because in direct correlation to something like this, was when IGN France had a big issue. A controversy ignited just after IGN France published their Stellar Blade preview article. Upon analyzing the game and its features, they expressed an opinion on Eve's character design that sparked significant controversy. In a now deleted paragraph, IGN France described the character design as a doll sexualized by someone who's never seen a woman. Many members of the community highlighted this statement, prompting IGN France to issue an apology short after. So of course, the internet went immediately to the receipts, and you can see 100% is based off a real character. Again, they issued an apology when that smoke came, and this is what they said. Recently, IGN France produced and published a preview of Stellar Blade that contained an offensive passage that should never have been kept. This text has now been modified, and here's our official apology to the staff at Shift Up Corporation. Also, please note that IGN France is an independent branch of IGN, and that editorial staff of IGN has nothing to do with the incident. You probably should abandon that name then, right? The original text of Stellar Blade preview contained remarks that had no place, although it was never our intention to disrespect Shift Up or any of its employees in their work, and we recognize that the phrase taken literally was out of place, and we regret it. To anyone at Shift Up Corporation who felt personally targeted and insulted by this passage, we are truly sorry, and we apologize profusely. I just want to say, @LoveZenYRT. Lord. So to put a button in this section of the video, initially going in, when I first saw the first few trailers, I thought, cool, it looks fun. My initial reaction was, is this game just gonna be a bunch of titties and ass jumping around just to please the horny gamers around the world? Is there gonna be any real gameplay underneath the visuals that we're seeing right now, underneath all the over sensualized haptic feedback on the controller and, you know, the typical Sony flair and flash that comes with an exclusive game? Is there gonna be a real game underneath all this shit? And all of those questions was answered for me immediately when they dropped that demo. Now, of course, when they initially dropped the demo, it was an accident. It leaked a few weeks prior that Warrior64 made an announcement that, hey, the demo is live. I was just 5 minutes too short. And at this point, I saw people posting it, and I was very upset, as I'm sure you was as well, because they didn't really acknowledge it. But of course, it died down about a week or two later. They dropped out the full demo that we played right here on the channel myself. And I can firmly say, after playing the gameplay, getting into the story, not even having more context with the game creator, with the game artist Kim, to know how he goes about creating his art, creating these characters in his game, I can say yes, it is much more than meets the eye, and that makes me happy. Gameplay. Now, even more than the visuals, I personally was more impressed with the actual gameplay side of things, because I don't think with the trailers that anyone really knew that it had Souls-like element. Now, of course, it's not completely Souls-like. It takes inspiration from a lot of different games. I personally never played NieR Automata. I wouldn't actually watch some gameplay just to prepare for this video as a good gaming journalist. No. Which ain't no fucking journalist. And of course, immediately I saw it. But even more so than NieR Automata, if you go look back at all the mobile games that Kim and Stellar Blade Studio has worked on, it looks similar to Stellar Blade. But of course, graphically, it's night and day, because you're looking at a mobile game versus a PS5. But from the core, just from the bone structure of the game, the third person, the hack and slash, the voluptuous character, you can see it's out with the vibrant colors. So you can see the base that they worked off of. So anyone that that was criticizing the game, calling it like a 2B version of NieR Automata or this or that, you're not exactly correct. The director himself literally gives the exact games that gave him inspiration. In an interview he did with PS Plus, Kim, yes, NieR Automata was a huge driving force behind me working on this project. It made me realize once again that I want to make a game like Stellar Blade. Also, as a fan of God of War, it is really just my favorite games. Mine's too. It taught me that you can experience a vast world without being completely open world. And I've also gotten inspiration from a lot of other game titles like Bayonetta, Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, and Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. He is a man after my own heart, and I know I'm not alone in this because every game he just named I love. And when you go watch some of the behind the scenes footage that they have on PlayStation YouTube channel, the studio has so much love and so much passion in this game. I mean, they have a full studio. I think they have over 300 employees right now. The studio that they have looks fantastic. Everyone looks like they're having a good time. Doesn't seem to have any reports of like crunch or of a toxic workplace that I can find, at least. Cause trust me, I was looking for it. They seem to all be on the same page, to all be very happy, to all be very inspired, led by this one man who's driving the vision, Kim Hung. Whenever they are making these characters, they are doing it in Unity or Unreal Engine. This is one of the first times that I've seen, now not only that the monsters and the creatures that you see in the game that was actually inspired, by the way, by a movie called The Host that was out during 2020 that looks pretty good. He found the creator of the monster designs in that movie and brought him onto the team. So them together started working on the way they wanted these beasts, these monsters, these bosses to look. And not only did they sketch them, color them, make them inside of the 3D program, they also made real life sculptures of the monsters so they can really put in the detail that they like. So the level of commitment that requires is unfucking believable. And if you're one of those folks that likes Eve's skin suit, then of course that leaves you very vulnerable. You have no armor, which I just thought that was absolutely brilliant. You're going to have New Game Plus on release. There will not be any in-game microtransactions, as it fucking should be, especially in a single player game if you already pay $70 for the game. Everything they're doing, man, they're doing it right, in my opinion, at least right now. Now this video may age terribly, but so far he's speaking our language. He's speaking the language of true gamers. He don't want this woke shit. He don't want microtransactions in the game. He just want to deliver a high octane single player experience that's $70. And yes, you should absolutely buy this fucking game. I saw this comment the other day that I screenshotted. DJ put it on the screen, and and it said, if you're tired of woke agenda, support this game. So for all you sweet baby eating motherfuckers that's complaining, that's upset every time a video game comes out and the chick don't have her ass or cheeks out, then congratulations, this is for you. For all you some bitches that's out there that's sick of microtransactions and having a paywall behind New Game Plus or having to wait like a year for New Game Plus, this game is for you. To all you souls like freaks who likes that combat, if you want a full challenge, you like that great system like they have in From Software games, you like the big boss battles with the big health bar, this game is for you. You have a full 60 frames per second, if not even more than that. You have the beautiful 4K resolutions, if not 1440 HP. Listen, this is how games supposed to be in 2024. This is how next gen or current gen games are supposed to be in 2024. If you've been looking for a reason to buy a PlayStation 5, but you hadn't saw a game that interested you, this one would be a console seller for you. Verdict, buy this game. Do not wait for a sale. You can wait for a sale, but I think it's going to be a little while because this is going to be a potential game of the year just based off everything they have going. I will be doing a full playthrough of Stellar Blade. I cannot wait to see y'all there. Those thumbnails are going to be out of pocket. So if you're sensitive, I don't know what to tell you.